in the recent update, Season 11, fresh foodstuffs got changed, giving you 40% reduction on cost instead. That makes it so that you now have 30 food cost vills, which is pretty darn good. A lot of people are probably looking to play Abbasid again, and so what I'll do is I'll show you guys a pretty simple and effective way to play Abbasid 2TC. You're going to have your second town set up at about 440. It's going to start building 430, 440, and then it's going to be up maybe 515, depending on how many vills you put on it. So it's a pretty good build. You're going to be playing defensive usually, leading into a lot of harassment from your end, and then your economy will eventually outscale your opponent, typically about 11 minutes. So that's your goal. You're going to have to deal with either all-ins or people who go Castellation and take relics, and so you can kind of deal with it two different ways. All-ins, it's kind of like, yeah, you just got to make a lot of archers and a couple of spears, whereas if you're up against somebody who goes all-in, who goes castle, then you're pretty much just going to go castle yourself, maybe with a bit of raiding. So that's pretty much it for the decision making to this build. What you're going to be doing is you're going to send 5 villagers over to the mill. You're going to be building a mill in these berries, and that's going to be where you are gathering with 5 villagers all the way until you get your second TC. This is also going to be enough for you to sustain 2 town centers, so you can immediately put all of your villagers afterwards onto wood once you've built the second town center. You need 4 on food to constantly make vills out of 1 TC, but when you have fresh foodstuffs, you only need about 2.5-ish. So we put 5 on food, and then we get enough for our upgrades and for villager production. Then what you're going to do is you're going to be building it with 2 villagers, and you're going to gather with 3 villagers over in the berries. Afterwards, send your villager here onto sheep, but have him build the House of Wisdom, and of course connect the mill with the TC through a house as well. So get your House of Wisdom, and mill all with your food bills. This sheep villager here is going to go back to the sheep. The idea is we're just going to not move villagers too much. Instead of going back and forth, we're just going to leave that guy here so he can be going onto wood later. Send now 2 villagers onto gold. So you go for 6, 2 split, 6 on food, 2 to gold, and then rally to food until you're aged up. That was a lot of information. If you have any questions about the build, of course, you can always ask in the comment section below. If you have anything you feel I could explain better. And yeah, pretty much just feel free to ask down in the comment section below. Gonna just fast forward a bit here. We're just rallying onto the sheep right now, and then we're gonna age up with Eco Wing at about 210, 212-ish. Most people will hit 215, but if you're getting like 220 or something, take a look at your build. Maybe you should try to see if you can optimize some things. So, send your scout aggressively. You're playing Abbasid. That means your scout can go for a long time onto the map. And that's pretty nice, because you don't need to eat sheep more than until you clicked the fuel age. Now take your sheep bills, go onto the wood, gather 50 wood, and then start rallying onto the stone. You want to go up to 6 stone bills. Once you have 6 on stone, you want to go on to 8 on wood, and that's going to be enough for you to get the correct timing on second TC. You're going to gather from the gold until it says 3750. You need 150 gold for 2 upgrades. Fresh foodstuffs, which is 50 food and 75 gold. And Fertile Crescent, which is 25 food and 75 gold. So these upgrades cost you a lot of gold and a bit of food, and you'll need to gather that. We're just going to do that with our 2 bills here. Once you've gathered down to 3750, so click the gold vein, then you send them over to wood as well. So for now, just rally onto stone, build a house, build a mining camp, and then once you got 6 on stone, go on to wood until you have the second TC. That's pretty much it. So we rally to stone. And we're gathering straggler trees. Don't go onto the wood line, just gather the straggler trees. And of course, make sure you haven't deleted any of these straggler trees by placing buildings. Usually, if you place buildings outside of 2 tiles of the TC, you will never delete straggler trees, but there is still a chance. So, be careful. You don't want to delete them, otherwise you're forced to do a lumber camp. The moment you don't have 3, you have to do a lumber camp. Don't build any other unnecessary buildings either, because then you won't have enough wood for the second town center. We want to use our second town center as a drop-off by putting it onto the wood. Now in the fuel age, click Fertile Crescent. You want to be ready immediately upon feudal to click this upgrade. This is going to happen at 4 minutes, maybe a bit earlier. Then you want to click Fresh Foodstuffs after, once you've got the gold that you need. Now we've got 6 in stone. We rally onto the wood. We take our 2 gold bills. Got the gold we needed. That's 37.49. And then we go on to the straggler tree. This is gonna be enough for us to now plop down the second TC. We pull away from stone when we have 955 left in the stone outcropping. That's the perfect number. 950 is fine. Then build your second TC and try to build it so that it protects your wood line, so that you can get your wood units out for defense. If you don't have your wood lines defended, let's say you went ahead and put it on the gold, and you're up against a civ like Mongols, for example, you will have a falcon constantly on your wood line just harassing you. Vision for Mengida, vision for archers and Kishiks, right? The same thing can happen if you're up against English and they see, okay, you put the second TC here, I will just put my scout here and then longbows, and then I can shoot into the wood line. Your wood line is the most precious thing for you, because it's kind of the key to doing anything with Abbasid. So secure it with the second TC. Build your wood line, build a lumber camp here, and then start protecting it. Don't build towers everywhere, build units. You want units, particularly archers, because when you go to the castle age, you can then go for something like composite bows, which gives you a faster attack rate, and that's a really, really good way to scale units from the feudal age to the castle age, by going archers, and then you can go lancers in the castle age. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at a real game so we can see what it looks like. So just before we start looking at this real game, which is Abbasid versus Atria and Carmel, I just want to show what happens with the economy. So resources gathered go crazy after 13 minutes. It already starts escalating here, but the further you get into the game, the more economy you get. Because as long as your opponent's not in 2 town center or any other sort of eco, and as long as you're not losing bills constantly, you're going to be absolutely fine. You want to make sure when you are practicing this build that you don't have dips in this line. Make sure you are constantly making villages. Otherwise, there's no point in playing 2DC and you need to work on your macro. So we start off the same way. I'm just going to speed through the build again. We send 5 to the berries. Build the House of Wisdom. Mining camp, of course. This mining camp is going to be a little bit closer, so we are going to get our gold earlier because we are in Carmel. In Carmel, often you have the gold under the TC, right? But it's a small gold. We have a pretty big woodline here, so we're of course going to consider where to build our second town center. Try to build it in the back. Don't build those in the front. Because if you build it in the front, it's pretty easy to ram it. It's a pretty big problem in general to build a second town center in the front. So now go ahead, gather the stone. You have a 5 on wood. We've left the 5 villagers over here on berries. Now of course you are going to float a little bit of food, but it's nothing to scuff at. I think it's absolutely fine to float a little bit of food as long as you don't have any gaps in your villager production, which most people will have if they don't have 5 on food, because they need to afford these upgrades. Now, up to 6 on stone, and then of course rally straggler trees, get the upgrades now in queue, so that's fresh foodstuffs, and that is Fertile Crescent, and scout your opponent. Now we see he went for mine work, and so we can probably expect either Fast Castle into Knights with 8 ranged armor, which is a really powerful build, or they will go for Feudal Inn and just get their upgrades super quick. I think mine work is pretty bad in this matchup, not something you want to go for. But we have to be careful that we aren't caught with our pants down. Second TC goes up on the wood line here. I don't really care about gold, right? It's nice that the gold's in the back, but if the golds were here, like, I wouldn't put my second TC on it. I think you should just put it on the wood line. Now we're going to go ahead and scout our opponent again. We need to figure out, can we just go Castle Age, or do we need to go Feudal Age units? So, we take a look at the base. What do we see? We see barracks. Now, a lot of people struggle with men-at-arms. Now, as Abbasid, that's one of the most easy things for you to deal with. You probably have the best tool set for dealing with armored units in the feudal age compared to any civ. Maybe knight civs are better, but that's literally the only thing I can think of. You have camels. The camels kill men-at-arms. You have spears. The spears kill the knights. Your camels also debuff the knights. So, what you're going to do now is, in the situation where you're up against men-at-arms, just go for camel archers. Camel archers have a lot of base damage. They do cost a lot of food, but it doesn't matter because you're not using a lot of food in general. They only cost 30 food, your villagers. And on Carmel, we have a lot of food anyway, so we don't need to farm transition very early. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to outmaneuver our opponent with camel archers and win the game like that. So we built 2 archer ranges. Now this is not a part of the build order. This is just a reaction to the men-at-arms. So don't start doing camel archers against every civ. It's not the way you play it. You typically just go archers if you're being aggressed on early. But if you're up against something like men-at-arms spam here, Camel archers are incredibly efficient. They're only countered really by horsemen in large numbers and archers. And if you see archers, you do horsemen. If you see horsemen, you do spears. Together with the camel archer. You just start fighting immediately. Just start, you know, being annoying. You have 11 base damage, so even though he has +4 already, you're still doing a lot of damage. 7. So every time we hit, we do 7. Now we have 3 of them. Now we do 21 damage every time, which is probably around the same as a crossbow. Now we gotta figure out, okay, where did he go? Thought he went down here. But the point is basically just harass constantly. Just never, what would you say? Be passive with your camel archer, so you want to always be active. Now this game here, I think I went ULH for a bit too long. I'm just going to speed it up here so you can see. I played it a bit too safe, which ended up maybe being a bit of a problem, but again, harassment is super strong. And so we kill a couple of vills here, shoot a bit at the man-at-arms. We keep scouting, we keep checking. Okay, now archers are out, so we gotta be careful here. We don't want to fight when there's archers, so we just keep running, right? You can kite, but you don't want to fight the archers, basically. We start going out on the map. Don't be afraid if you have map control like we do right now. Our map control is to here. You can just start going for the map. Don't build farms if you have map control. If you build farms, you'll slow yourself down by a lot. Once again, we find our opponent. Every time he's about to move to our base, we attack him. And so, that's the way you defend. Defend by attacking. I've covered this subject numerous times on my channel. It's pretty simple. By attacking, your opponent is forced to go back and do something, especially on a map like this, where their economy is kind of, you know, vulnerable, right? Also some units over here, maybe. So, it's nice when you can just control your opponent's army like that. You just keep being annoying, keep being aggressive, and just try to find damage, right? You're not looking to fight, you're just trying to find damage and being annoying and control their army movement. And then, of course, if you're up against like a lot of archers and stuff, walling is really good. You want to wall in general when you play 2 town center. And of course, see if you can find a transition point as well. We've made a lot of extra units here, because I thought my opponent went for a full all-in. But he stopped making units here, which is not always something that you can tell. So I just kept making units, kept harassing. He's going up now. Now, I don't know this at this point, but it doesn't really matter, because I can still kill all of his units and still be annoying. So I just move around and move into his base. Wherever his army is not is where I will attack. So I find his landmark here. And at this point, I have killed about 15 villagers. So I have 70 vills and he has 30. I'm in 13, 45. So I think that's pretty good. That's what you need. I think you just gotta go up to the next stage now. Not really much else to say here, then I'm just full walling. Now I'm fully focusing food. I got 50 on food. And I'm just still raiding constantly. I just don't want him to attack me because he has quite a scary army. If he had attacked me, it would have been a little bit of a problem. But again, then I would also just have wiped the rest of his base. So again, it's an impossible situation for him. For me, it's just, you know, making sure I don't die if he attacks me, so I double layer my walls. I start transitioning so I can make gulams, crossbow, and knights. Basically just full food and gold units. That's what you can do when you have such a good economy. Our income is insane right now. So, yeah. That's pretty much Abbasid. This game here, I basically just do the transition now. I go next stage. He's still running after me. A lot of people, up until Conqueror 3, will do that. They'll just run after you if you just attack them, so... I mean, you can do this without being on 2DC. Just be annoying constantly, and you can control your opponent very easily. That's a surefire way to get out of gold. If you get really good at just controlling 2 attack groups like this, not taking too much damage, not losing them randomly, you can just constantly be active and do stuff. We're castle now, we're just making units, we're spending all of our resources. We're just always being annoying. He's Imperial Age now. It doesn't matter, because I'm just making a lot of units. He can be Imperial Age, that's fine. He doesn't have any gold access. So yeah, we just keep attacking. We make a big fat army, 3 mangonels. And then we have 35 gulams, 27 crossbows, 8 lancers, and 2 camel riders, and 3 mangonels. And now we just torch everything down. So, that's how you play Abbasid 2DC. Even on maps that are not designed for Abbasid, like Carmel, you can do really well with them. Just be active. Play the game responsibly, reactively, whatever word you want to use. And, yeah, you can kill your opponent. By just staying alive. If you stay alive, and you don't lose bills, and you make sure that you have resources, eventually you'll just automatically win, because if you spend all your resources, you can't really go any wrong. So that's pretty much it for me. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. 07.